In the electrifying world of heavy metal, Randy Rhoads was riding a wave of growing fame. Starting from humble beginnings, he worked hard and became known as the king of neoclassical metal. But amidst his meteoric rise, tragedy struck and the music world would lose one of its greatest guitarists. Join us as we cover the life of Randy Rhoads and try to figure out the chilling details of that day which shook the music world to its core. Randy Rhoads was actually born as Randall William Rhoads on December 6, 1956 in Santa Monica, California, as the youngest of 3 kids into a family deeply involved in music. Both of his parents were teachers at the Musonia School of Music, which they ran together in North Hollywood, but sadly when Randy was just 17 months old, his father left the family to start a new life elsewhere, which forced his mother to raise the children on her own. Nevertheless, she remained dedicated to both her family and music, and it didn't take long before little Randy started showing a natural attraction towards sounds and instruments. Realizing his early interest, his mother started teaching him piano, which built a strong musical foundation that would shape his future. And it wasn't long, perhaps at the age of 11 or 12, that Randy's focus shifted to the guitar, when he was given an Ovation Tornado electric guitar by his father during his rare visits. In his preteens and early teens, Randy drew inspiration from a wide range of musicians such as Leslie West from Mountain, Tony Iommi from Black Sabbath, and even classical violinist Jascha Heifetz. These influences helped shape his distinctive neoclassical style, which blent heavy, powerful riffs with more refined, almost orchestral phrasing. He even took lessons at Musonia from a teacher named Scott Shelley. But by the age of 11, Randy had already surpassed him to a point where the instructor told his mother that he knew more about music theory and technique than he did. So from that point on, Randy kept teaching himself through sheer obsession, where sometimes his mom couldn't help but to worry about the strain on his hands. Then in 1973, while studying at Burbank High School, 16-year-old Randy co-founded a band with his friend and bassist Kelly Garney, along with drummer Drew Forsyth, where they started playing in local parties and small events. And just a year later, with the addition of vocalist Kevin DeBrow, the band officially became Quiet Riot, which quickly became a club favorite, selling out spots wherever they went. Between 1976 and 1977, the band performed more than 200 shows, but despite their growing popularity, they struggled to secure a major record deal. And as the tension between the group escalated, Randy eventually left the band and planned to travel abroad to perfect his blend of Eddie Van Halen style flash and Bach-inspired complexity. However, fate had other plans. Through a chance connection with a producer, Arkells, Randy was introduced to Ozzy Osbourne, who was looking for a guitarist. During a classical audition in 1979, Randy played an acoustic version of what became The Crazy Train, which completely blew Ozzy away and pulled him out of a dark spiral. So eventually they teamed up for the Blizzard of Oz album in 1980, where Randy co-wrote some of the massive hits like Mr. Crowley and further crafted the Diary of a Madman. Another interesting detail of that time was Randy's attitude toward fame. Unlike many musicians chasing stardom, he saw himself more as a student of music than a rock star. His approach influenced an entire generation of players, blending technical skills with emotional depth in a way that few had ever done before. And yet, as his career was reaching new heights, something totally unexpected happened. In late 1981, 25-year-old Randy Rhoads was out on tour with Ozzy Osbourne as part of the Diary of a Madman tour to support Ozzy's solo album, which Randy had helped and shaped with his neoclassical flair. The tour itself was intense, consisting of endless bus rides with more than 123 shows across the UK, Europe, and North America. But unlike many around him, Randy wasn't consumed by the excess of stardom, where, according to his team, he didn't drink heavily, avoided substances, and spent his downtime practicing guitar or studying classical music. He truly loved the art. In fact, while on the road, he would often seek out local guitar teachers for lessons to improve and expand his knowledge. By early 1982, perhaps during the month of January, the band started the intense US leg, where Randy even gave guitar seminars and slowly pushed toward the month of March. By the middle of that month, the band had been traveling through Florida, where on March 18th, they performed at Knoxville Civic Coliseum in Tennessee before boarding their tour bus and heading toward Orlando for the next show. Ozzy later recalled a brief conversation he had with Randy where Randy expressed his concerns about Ozzy's drinking habit. "You'll kill yourself, one of these days," he said. In a tragic turn of events, those words would take on a different meaning. In the morning, somewhere around 6 to 7 a.m. local time, the band's Silver Eagle tour bus ran into some issues, where they had to stop at the Flying Baron Estate near Leesburg, Florida to repair a malfunctioning air conditioning unit. Primarily owned by the Calhoun brothers, the property featured a small airstrip of 20 to 30 feet wide running parallel to US Highway 441, which was just enough for small private planes to land and take off. Most of the band and crew were exhausted from the overnight travel and decided to rest on the bus with Ozzy asleep in the back. Meanwhile, at around 9 a.m. local time, their 36-year-old temporary tour bus driver and licensed pilot, Andrew Aycock, noticed a single-engine Beechcraft Bonanza parked nearby. Without much hesitation, he rented the plane from the Winter Park, Florida flight school for about $200 an hour, which was standard for licensed pilots like him. Though he had permission to fly the aircraft, taking off and landing on private property without the owner's approval was a different story. And still, he decided to overlook everything and hopped into the plane with keyboardist Don Airy and tour manager Jake Duncan as passengers. His plan was to wake up the band members by flying super low over the bus. A few minutes later, he ended up doing 1 or 2 close passes, and after landing, the moment was brushed off with a few laughs. Randy, who had always been a bit uneasy about flying because of his phobia, had no initial plans of getting on the plane for the second flight. But after some persuasion from Andrew, who actually promised a calm and gentle ride, Randy agreed. Seeing it as an opportunity to take a few aerial photos to show his mother later, he climbed aboard around 9:50 a.m. local time, along with makeup artist Rachel Youngblood. Then at around 10 a.m. local time, the Beechcraft Bonanza lifted off smoothly, heading east over the waters of Lake Harris, with Randy seated front right and Rachel beside him. However, instead of maintaining a safe altitude after a brief climb, Andrew started flying extremely low, where he made the first pass, which swept low over the stationary bus at around 100 feet above. Wanting to push it further, Andrew looped back for a second run, and this time ended up dropping to just 50 feet, where he dangerously skimmed close to the roof of the bus. At that point, it still seemed like a harmless ride with elements of prank, but within seconds, something unexpected happened. Aiming to close the distance even further, Andrew increased speed to 140 miles an hour and plunged down to a mere 10 or 20 feet off the ground, which turned out to be his biggest mistake. During that dive, the aircraft's right wing clipped the roof of the tour bus, near the driver's side, which ended up in a large bang sound. As 3 feet of aluminum sheared away and ripped open the fuel tank, the aircraft went out of control, rolling to the right. And just a few seconds later, it impacted into Jerry Colhoun's lakeside garage at around 100 miles an hour, with the wreckage spreading over 200 yards. The impact's brutal G-force flung Randy and Rachel forwards violently, where they smashed through the windshield and ended up receiving critical injuries. Within moments, the plane exploded and engulfed the wreckage as well as a major part of the garage in flames. The large explosion woke the remaining members, including Ozzy, who surprisingly had not even woken up when the plane first struck the bus. Emergency crews took some time to arrive at the scene, but even then, there was little that could be done. According to the official reports, firefighters battled for 30 minutes straight using foam and water until the wreckage cooled enough to approach. "They're gone," Tommy Aldridge shouted, while taking a fire extinguisher from the bus and running toward the crash in a vain attempt to put out the fire. By around noon, the responders were finally able to reach the wreckage and recover those on board, but sadly, it was already too late. Authorities later confirmed the identities via personal items, including jewelry, and just like that, Randy Rhoads was pronounced dead at the scene at the age of 25. "I initially thought that we hit a vehicle on the road," I got out of bed, screaming to my fiancée, "Sharon, get off the bus," and then I realized what had happened," Ozzy said while explaining the incident and his grief. The investigation into the crash started almost immediately after the fire was brought under control. The NCSB, along with FAA officials and local officers, arrived on scene within hours. Over the next few days, investigators conducted extensive interviews of Ozzy and his crew in Leesburg hotels, where they pieced together a timeline from 20-plus witnesses. An autopsy carried out by the Lake County Medical Examiner's Office confirmed that the primary cause of death was multiple blunt force trauma sustained during the impact. Plus, the toxicology reports of the people on board finally revealed some interesting facts. The pilot, Andrew, was tested positive for substances and was also found to have been flying with an expired aviation medical certificate. Investigators further looked into Andrew's personal life, where they found that he had a careless attitude. Plus, he was charged with child molestation from his ex-wife and was tired from driving all night. Andrew broke FAA rules on purpose by flying too low over the road and bus. According to FAA Regulation 91.118, planes must stay at a safe height over busy areas. In the end, investigators concluded that the crash was the result of pilot error with no evidence of mechanical failure or foul play. "It took me a very long time to get over Randy's death. He gave me purpose when I was lost," Ozzy later said while remembering him. Randy's funeral took place on March 26, 1982, just a week after the crash at Forest Lawn Memorial Park, where hundreds of mourners, including Ozzy and other members, gathered to pay their respects. As news of his passing spread, tributes poured in from across the rock and metal world. Guitar Player magazine, who had crowned him Best New Talent in 1981, published extensive features where they celebrated his technical brilliance and rapid rise from the LA club to the big stage. In the years that followed, his legacy was further solidified with a memorial plaque which was unveiled in 2004 at the Leesburg crash, where his fans still gather to this day to pay their respects. Every March 19th, fans around the world hold vigils to remember Randy, often accompanied by heartfelt social media posts from Ozzy reflecting on how Randy came into his life and changed heavy metal forever. Looking back on Randy's life, it is safe to say that he never saw himself as a rock star and never believed he had reached the peak. Even at the height of his success, he was still a student who was searching and learning. Maybe that's why his story continues to resonate so deeply with young generations. He once said, "The most important thing is to be true to yourself and those you love, and to play music from your heart." So rest in peace, Randy Rhoads, aka Snoopy.